Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Gearbox just dropped a massive deep dive into BL4 that lets us see an actual play session of the game where they talk more about the game and how it works while playing. There's a lot to go over here and it's an actual bombshell of information for casual and hardcore fans alike, so let's get into it. First off, they dropped a new trailer, which is what you're seeing on screen right now. They show off the Vault Hunters in a bit of a better light. It seems like they have a bit more personality and look more distinct than they did in the original trailer. Though obviously they're going to be their own characters when the game comes out and they'll really shine there. They can't reveal too much, but we did get to see two of these Vault Hunters in action during this deep dive. The trailer is phenomenal, a lot of really cool enemy designs, cannot wait to start bashing these guys on September 12th, which is the new release date by the way. And one other thing I noticed is that the grapple hook right there is used as a weapon. You can now pick up throwables, explosives and such laying around the map and use them in combat, so it's not purely just for traversal. Very exciting news. We also get to see a bit more of what Kairos, the new planet we're going to be exploring in BL4, looks like and how it operates. Apparently the Timekeeper, our new antagonist, has kept this planet hidden and its residents obedient through cybernetic implants fused to their spines called bolts. He has his own synthetic army called the Order, and the only reason this planet's revealed itself now is because Lilith, when saving Pandora in Borderlands 3, phase shifted the moon across the galaxy. That is Elpis, by the way. Coincidentally, Elpis re-emerged within range of Kairos' veil, shattering its incognito state and revealing itself to the galaxy. We don't know specifics yet, but the emergence of Elpis near Kairos was considered to be a planet-wide cataclysmic event that presented an opportunity for Kairos' population to momentarily break the Timekeeper's hold over them. As a result, some of the residents of Kairos started to rip out their own bolts, I assume with varying degrees of success, and in those bold residents is where you'll find new friends and foes alike. Not everyone is a rebel for justice once they're free. Many of them will still try to kill you. The Timekeeper is about keeping order, allegedly, and it would make sense for bandits and other dangerous criminals to emerge from broken shackles as well. Alright, enough world building and lore, let's get into the thick of it. Vault Hunters. We got to see two of them during this deep dive. Vex, the new Siren, who, from what they've shown us, can channel her Siren abilities to empower herself, cause battlefield devastation, or conjure allies, especially her pet tiger named Trouble, who is also used to show off an incredible quality of life feature for any aspiring beastmasters out there that allows for her melee and action skills to inherit the element of your current gun instead of needing to be changed out through menus. Pretty convenient. The second Vault Hunter they showed off was another operative similar to Zane named Rafa. He was previously a soldier for Tediore before becoming a Vault Hunter and has the ability to destruct an arsenal of weapons from his exosuit, like these arc knives they showed off. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of Rafa's kit like we did Vex, but I'm sure people are pretty hyped up just from the arc knives alone. Alongside a new planet, we're also going to be meeting new characters, but there's also going to be returning characters, Mox, Amara, Zane from what we've seen so far, and yes, this does include Claptrap, who is awesome, by the way. Screw all the Claptrap haters. You would have never made it to Jack if he didn't romance a security system. Just saying. Throw the guy a pizza party. But we will also now have a traveling companion in the form of another bot named Echo 4, who serves as your personal MacGuffin that hacks everything and shows you where to go, much like Ghost from Destiny. Don't know if they'll be as chatty as Claptrap, so we'll have to wait to see. Not a big co-op guy myself, but they did say there will be crossplay at launch, and on top of the co-opetition mode with instance-based loot that they introduced in Borderlands 3, they will also have instance-based difficulty, meaning that you and whoever you're playing with can play on two different difficulties simultaneously, so that you can all have a personalized experience in terms of difficulty without either holding back or blowing past your friends. Curious to see how this works. It sounds a bit sketchy on pen and paper, but who knows? I thought the same thing when they introduced instance-based loot 6 years ago, and that was a banger, so we'll see. Let's talk about movement tech. It seems we'll have a glide that we can use to cover distance in the air. We'll also be able to climb up walls, dash, double jump, and of course use our shiny new grapple hooks as well. One other thing they slipped into this section that was subtle but huge was the fact that there will be dynamic weather and events taking place on these maps. This will make traversal more interesting, and I'm personally looking very much forward to this because it will keep multiple playthroughs feeling fresh. Any kind of shift away from static maps is a big deal for me, as it helps detract from the slower paced moments in the game when you're going through multiple playthrough limbo. Every game has these moments, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and dynamic maps can help to ease the slog during those sections. This thing is called a silo, and it's seemingly a new map objective that allows you to set up a fast travel station, and we don't know if this particular event is tied to this specific map or not, but upon activation of this silo, the player was given a clue to the location of a nearby vault, which they would need to complete prerequisites on the map in order to open, and this is all isolated from main quest and exists entirely as a map event. I'm not sure if every map will be identical or if they will all have unique events, but this has me a lot more pumped up than the collectible scavenger hunts of BL3. Not that there was anything inherently wrong with those, I'm just excited to work towards something substantive this time around that feels immersive, such as hunting down a vault without being explicitly told to and guided to as part of a quest. On top of silos becoming fast travel locations and introductions to map-wide events, they also provide traversal utility by allowing you to ascend to the top of them and glide quite a far distance. I know it looks a little slow from his POV, but check the distant markers, man. You're definitely covering some ground here. And on top of all this movement tech, we also have pocket cars. We can summon a kin to a sparrow in Destiny. Not sure what the restrictions are on these things. I assume it's only outdoor open world areas, but who knows. Here's a combat scenario they showed off. It looks like standard Borderlands so far, but it's kind of hard to see the extent of it when you're seeing dev play, which is like watching paint dry. I mean, they turn their cameras like sundials, so it's kind of hard to watch at times. But one thing I noticed on top of the combat usage for the grapple is the traversal usage during combat. I assumed the traversal of the grappling hook would be static and tied to environmental vertical progression, but it seems you can use it to get some air quickly as well. Not sure what the practical uses are for this yet though, but if I had to guess, maybe slam build synergy. But again, not a lot to work with in this deep dive in terms of theory crafting. This is Tim. Aside from looking like a really cool and unique boss, he's also contagious, which is interesting because normally you don't have prefixes or suffixes like that tied to enemies, only guns. So I'm curious about how this plays into enemy variety and if it has any effect on the loot that drops. Maybe a contagious enemy deals corrosive damage if you get too close to it and also has a guaranteed corrosive drop. So that's something else that I noticed is interesting that they didn't really comment on. This is what the inventory UI looks like. I'm not really sold on it. I think it looks a bit messy, but maybe it just hasn't grown on me yet. But before we talk about that, let's hear a word from our sponsors, the gun manufacturers of Borderlands 4.
There's Jacobs, with crit-friendly black powder weapons, the elemental expertise of Maliwan, Vladoff, who solve lower accuracy with more bullets, the toss to reload Tedior, or Torg with explosions! We also have 3 new ones. The Order with powerful charge and release blasts, fully auto rippers, and the reliable, easy-to-use Daedalus, which can use multiple ammo types.
But that's just the start. We've introduced an all-new licensed parts system. This allows for behaviors and abilities from multiple manufacturers to spawn in a single weapon. For instance, this flat-off assault rifle features a Torg mag, Hyperion shield, and a Maliwan elemental switch, meaning it shoots fast and explodes things. The higher the rarity, the more parts that can randomly spawn, creating wilder and wilder loot.
And that's before even getting into alt-fire modes, underbarrels, and elemental damage.
The possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah, so 3 new manufacturers, and the parts thing has me very intrigued because for those who aren't familiar, randomized brand parts on weapons has always been a thing, and it's what determines the stats of your weapons. But this time around, it seems like they want this to be a more pronounced feature for the players, and it seems like they will be breaching the threshold of stat sticks and actually have effects on your weapons, aside from the statistical benefit as well. Such as a Maliwan weapon having Torg explosive rounds and being throwable like a TDR weapon. This is very exciting and leads to a ton of loot chase potential in my opinion. Speaking of loot chase, they acknowledged that loot was too abundant in BL3, which took away from the novelty of finding legendary weapons and consequently devalued all non-legendary weapons, as well as many legendary weapons in BL3, which was good for build crafting, but removed an entire aspect from Borderlands' identity as the looter shooter, the actual thrill of getting a rare piece of loot. This time around, it will be toned down, but to what extent, we still don't know. And for all the players who avoid rocket launchers at all costs, because, let's be real, they're strong, but who wants to have a somewhat conditional weapon taking up one of their weapon slots? Then good news! BL4 has a solution for this in the form of Ordnance, We don't have all the details yet, but it seems that on top of our action skills, we will also have a cooldown ability dedicated to grenade, rocket launchers, and other heavy weapons. I think this is a great solution to the heavy weapon problem in Borderlands, and hopefully it breathes life into these otherwise ignored weapon types. These skill trees are huge. I mean, take a look at these things. I think they are even bigger than Borderlands 3's, and those trees were pretty beefy on their own. I'm also excited because this might be an indication of a higher level cap than normal, because, I mean, the sheer size of these trees, and you can spec into multiple trees. So, you know, again, we didn't see much, no point in theory crafting yet, but just wanted to point out just how big these trees are. There's also going to be something called a ref kit you can equip, which they didn't go into much detail about, but from what they did say, it sounds like it's another gear slot item and can be used like a cooldown ability, and they heal, as well as provide other buffs alongside that heal, like increased damage, fire rate, or move speed, so that's something new as well that I'm looking forward to. One thing I'm a little skeptical about is enhancements. These will be replacing artifacts and are always going to be manufacturer focused. I don't know how I feel about a loyalty gear piece not only being an option, but entirely replacing artifacts as a whole, as I feel it won't promote much variety. But it seems like these work as long as your weapon has at least one part of that enhancement's respective manufacturer equipped. So maybe it's not as bad as I think it'll be, but it just kind of feels like this is just one big general company man slot, and I don't know how I feel about it. And also, we're ending on a high note, the biggest announcement by far to come out of this entire deep dive was that there will no longer be a need to save quit farm because we are now going to be able to respawn bosses in real time with something called Moxie's Encore machine. This is an absolute game changer, and this feature alone, if executed well, will put this game ahead of every other Borderlands game put together. This is a godsend feature, and I'm extremely excited to get in there and start farming. Not to mention the convenience of being able to farm in co-op without needing to save quit and re-invite all your friends. This is such a big deal, and I truly cannot describe how game-changing it is. Guys, I'm gonna be real, I am so excited for this game, and it's probably going to end up taking over my life when it comes out. Remember me, because if you're a Borderlands fan, you will see me in your recommended when this game drops. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the deep dive in the comments, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'm Haderaxe, signing out. Peace.